Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot. But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Parabola do Stanley. Voltou no começo porque eu cometi suicídio.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Foda-se.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
O último objetivo foi cumprido.
Qual foi o último? Eu não vi que passou muito rápido.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Mano, tudo pro inferno, velho. Não consigo pegar essa merda. Não tem botão de pegar. Esse bichão é inútil.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black. This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Não sei, acho que foi. Vou ter que obedecer esse viado narrador.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Eu vou obedecer tudo, tô nem aí.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Wow, yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked through the red door. Aha, perhaps you misunderstood. Stanley walked through the red door. I still don't think we're communicating properly. Stanley walked through the red door. All right, fine, go ahead, Stanley. You want to know so badly what's out there? You want to find out what lies at the end of this road you've chosen? Well, don't let me stop you. You see? There's nothing here. I haven't even finished building this section of the map because you were never supposed to be here in the first place. Broken rooms, exposed developer textures. Is this what you had wanted? Was it worth ruining the entire story I had written out specifically for you? Do you not think I put a lot of time into that? Because I did. And in the end, it was all for nothing. Because this is what you wanted to see. Help me here, Stanley. Help elucidate these strange and unknowable desires of yours. What would have made this game better? What did you want to see? Vehicles? Skill trees? Work with me. You've given me absolutely nothing so far. Tell you what. Let me take a stab in the dark at a new design, and you can give me some feedback. There we go. A third option. This already feels leaps ahead of where we were before. Go ahead, Stanley. Take it for a spin. Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Now, tell me about your experience with this new version. Would you say that the game benefited from allowing you more choices? Feel free to be honest. I'm looking for some real critical feedback here. Oh, of course. A 3. Really? Maybe next time we can get you to form an actual opinion, you know? Any level of critical thinking or engagement with your surroundings? Does that sound good? Think we can do that? Yes? Wonderful. Here, based on the data from your previous playthrough, I've compiled a new version. And to be perfectly candid, I think I've knocked it out of the park with this one. Let's take a look. Now, would you say that competitive leaderboard helped you feel motivated to keep walking through doors? Again, honest answers, please.
Não entendi a pergunta.
Hey, I nearly forgot. I've got a prototype of a new game I've been working on, and now would be a lovely opportunity to give it some playtesting. You wouldn't mind taking a look at it, would you? Perfect. Let me boot it up. In this game, the baby crawls left towards danger. You click the button to move him back to the right, and if he reaches the fire, you fail. It's a very meaningful game, all about the desperation and tedium of endlessly confronting the demands of family life. I think the art world will really take notice. But of course, the message of the game only becomes clear once you've been playing it for about 4 hours. So why don't you give it 4 hours of play to make sure it's effective? Be sure to keep notes on your experience.
A gente vai jogar isso por 4 horas, né? Eu tenho que jogar até 8 horas da noite, velho. Vai tomando tudo.
você só não aperta?
Como assim só
Cara,
não...
deve ter um outro jeito, cara.
You heartless bastard. Did you do it because you hate babies or purely to spite me? Because if it's the latter, well, I don't know what to do. I'm completely out of ideas. I can't think of a single thing that might improve the experience for me. I'm not even going to try. I'm out, I'm done. It's over. Thank you for playing. Your input was extremely valuable. Oh, hey, since my game was so awful, why don't we play someone else's game, just to ease the pain? Let's see. What do we have here? Yes, this seems like it'll work. Let's give it a shot.
Nem fudendo.
Fascinating. What do you think this game is about, Stanley? What's our
Firewatch,
backstory?
velho.
What is our motivation? Well, it seems obvious to me that you are meant to play as a creepy man spying on innocent civilians below you from up high in your creep tower, perhaps for some sort of twisted erotic purpose. Yes, that must be it. What a fascinating venture into the experience of total mental depravity. So far, I love everything about this game, Stanley. And it seems there's even more. Come, let's venture outward and see what else is out there. Oh, no. No, it can't be. It is. It's an open world game. Good God, quickly, block it off.
Filho da puta.
Thank goodness, Stanley, what a close call. You really wandered off into that thing, that big open, just wandering around, no right or wrong directions, no path to follow. You can just go in any... Oh, thank heavens we avoided it. We're out of the woods now, Stanley. Okay, I'm going to get us out of here. Let's find another game. Preferably something with walls. Something with nice, big, insurmountable walls. Okay, I think this will be just the thing.
Não acredito.
Wonderful. See, this
Quando
is
esse jogo
exactly
saiu,
what I
velho?
had in mind. Just a nice big box for you to run around in. There isn't any possibility that you could get lost
Rocket
here.
League não
Now
existia nesse
this
tempo.
is game design. Stanley, if you manage to get lost in this game,
Nem-
I will be
nem-
phenomenally impressed.
Tower Watch, velho. Firewatch, quer dizer.
É porque, cara, deixa eu te mandar.
Okay, so what exactly do we do here? Let's see. There are lots of cars here in the back, but obviously there's no racetrack. Okay, I'm seeing that there's a ball of some kind back here. Is this game sports ball? Stanley, I think it's sports ball. Oh, what fun. We shall run the bases and do a touchdown together. Yes, I think surely we must. Okay, Stanley, here's the ball. Have fun. Are you doing it? Are you winning? Is this fun? Is it better than my miserable little story that I worked so hard on? Stanley, I have a thought. And I realize I'm not a sportsologist, but if one ball generates a certain amount of raw adrenal pleasure, then surely multiple balls makes for an even more euphoric sports experience. I'm going to try it out. Here comes another ball. Yes. Oh, goodness, that really does feel amazing, doesn't it? Stanley, I'm like a child in a confectionery shop. I simply have to have more. I'm insatiable. More balls!
Oi, Babi. Vai ser um problema, eu não bebo.
Novo membro tem que tem que se ajoelhar e rezar.
Are you having fun? Is this a real video game? Well, I sure
Tem
hope you're having a
que
good
pagar
time,
o
because
pedágio.
guess what? It's over.
Descabelar o
That's right.
palhaço.
Your little fun comes to an end. This is my
Fazer o
game,
babão.
and what I say goes. You get to have fun when I let you, Stanley. Besides, you need someone like me. Hold on. What are you doing?
Stanley, don't do that. I can't follow you there. I can't help you. How will you write a story without me? You can't do it. You know that.
Eu disse que teve que pôr baixo, mas eu tentei. Beleza, você está perguntando cadê o baixo. Eu já ficar muito enfraquecido. Por quê? Porque. Cássio? Calma aí.
Eu escapo aí do nada.
Tem o quê?
I wonder what he found.
Ah, tá.
If what
Escapei
he
não.
wanted was to be the leading man in his own story, well, perhaps he's gotten it. Down in wherever he is right now. I wonder if he's happy with his choice, and if he's learned the heavy cost that comes with it. He'll understand soon what I was trying to tell him. He needs me. Someone who will wrap everything up at the end, to make sense out of the chaos and the fear and the confusion. That's who I am. That is what I mean to this world. Oh, yes. Yes, I'll be back. There's no other way. Once this ends, after it all comes to a close, then I'll be back. The end will be here soon. Very soon. I can wait. All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Com a Lady e acho que é a Modarena, entendeu? É o seguinte, a Modarena é assim. Cada é um inimigo para você lutar contra.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ao todo isso durante 2 horas. E não tem como salvar. Tem que ser de uma vez só.
Porra.
Eu já fiz isso.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this, what dark secret was being held from him. What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck.
Depois que eu coloco a mulher. Tá bom. Depois eu vou contar agora, mas você tem que, assim, falar. Você tem que falar pra mim que você não vai contar pra ninguém.
A piada.
A piada é muito perversa, tá ligado? Uma piada que ninguém vai conseguir escutar. Né?
Eu roubo todas as piadas que eu escuto. Então falei.
Não, acho que você não vai entender essa. Só pro Josué porque ele é maneiro.
Certo.
Ok.
Certo.
Ó, Josué. Sabe qual que é a série favorita do Malzik, cara?
Cutis.
Não. Eu, a patroa e as crianças sem a patroa.
Imaginei.
Quem?
Cheguei perto.
Quem é?
Quase. Mano, o que me preocupa é que eu não lembrava que essa série do Cult existia.
Quem é?
Na ponta da língua conseguiu adivinhar essa porra aí.
Controversa.
Quem é Malzik, velho?
É um cara que.
A mina aí, a mina, velho.
Na grande terra, ele era esse cara, né, que fazia arte e tudo mais. Só que ele era meio doido da cabeça. Uma vez ele fez uma edit de um sprite, né, de uma personagem feminina do jogo. É que assim, no jogo tem o Alessi, né, que torna as pessoas aí criança. Aí tinha a personagem mulher que podia virar criança, ela botou ela contra o Alessi, né. Aí ele fez uma edição de sprite, ou seja, uma edição de textura da versão criança pelada e tudo mais.
Pelada. E não foi nem isso, tá? Não foi só isso. Não sei se o Josué tá atualizado aí nas treta que teve aí.
Mais ou menos, ele quase paquerou a Parabola em um site de namoro aí, de festival, coisa assim.
Eu não fiquei sabendo disso.
O que é, né? Assim.
Mano, eu só soube que.
That's like the first level you ever play, universally. There's no other level you.
Tem o peso.
Achou, cara?
Não, eu entrei em outra call.
Boa. Dá pra ver que ele é teu amigo, né?
Ele faz isso às vezes.
É porque era no server de Hentai Furry. Eu precisava ver quem é que tá com a câmera ligada.
Oh, meu Deus do céu. O bicho é por Deus.
Caralho.
Eu
Explica essa foto de cachorro.
queria que... Não, vai tomar no cu. O server não é de Hentai Furry. O server é de
É
Hentai...
o único que tem Friday.
Eu queria que fosse mentira. Olha o seu MK.
Eu vou ter que ver mesmo, calma aí.
Eu não ri. Meu Deus do céu, que coisa horrível, cara. Coisa horrível.
Ô, José, você não pode falar não, tá, cara? Que eu fui ver a tua lista de amigos, cara. Tem um cara lá que eu fiquei meio preocupado. Josué.
He stepped into the newly opened
É um
passageway.
cara. Me explica.
Não, rapaz, ele
É o Phil Head.
Não posso falar nada, eu também tenho um furry na minha lista de amigos. As coisas mudam, né, cara?
Poxa. Eu não sou furry.
Não é nem que ele é furry, cara. É que eu fui entrar no perfil dele, cara. Aí eu vi um bagulho. Lorde Lucy. Bem-vindo ao reino da Luciana. Luciania. Aí, pessoal, notável. A gente tem a rainha do gelo.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Você tá preocupado por descobrir teu segredo?
Sim, eu tô preocupado porque você tá primeiro curioso. Você tá fazendo isso com curioso, seu próprio.
Não tô nem aí, cara. Tô nem aí. Agora eu tô...
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, but of course, Stanley thought better of it and realized he simply had too much to live for. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Aí, tô não vai.
Não, eu só inventei agora.
O nome dele é Gleuson.
Volta aí,
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing.
Eu tô. Mas ao mesmo tempo tô na tela aqui do Caio, vendo ele jogando e ele sendo burro e escutar o narrador.
Eu não vou obedecer a voz na minha cabeça.
This mind-controlled facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content, walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
E aí que deve estar mexendo no mod dele. O mod? Eu posso botar a mulher pelada no casual? Sempre pode. Só que agora tu vai poder colocar mais tipo assim, pelo bicho.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over?
Ah, sim, é do mais aeroporto e tudo mais. Não, mais aeroporto pode.
Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And
Isso é legal.
even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Eu peguei o primeiro final já. Eu obedeci, calma, eu obedeci tudo que ele falou e eu me libertei do escritório.
É a terceira vez que tu falou que tu tá no final do jogo.
É porque tem vários finais, né? O jogo é. Mas esse primeiro final.
Tem 12.
Ah, foda-se. Já finalizei.